It's Saturday morning! The Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
Up on the mesa, high above the clouds, there's a world apart from all the rest.
First airing in September of 1992, Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa told the story of, well, the Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, as they tried to fight the bad guys and keep true to the code of the West. The first thing you'll probably notice about this show, well, about any cartoon show, is the intro. It's frickin' awesome.
Comet brings the mesa to the western skies with the sound of 1,000 cattle drive.
Performed by singer Billy Dean, it does exactly what a cartoon show intro is supposed to do. In less than a minute, gives you the plot, gives you the basics about the main characters. It's also catchy as hell. I have it on my MP3 player. No, seriously. Now, most shows of this type just throw you into a world of anthropomorphized animals and just expect you to go with it. WWC is different, because it actually provides an explanation. Supposedly this takes place in the real world.
We're the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. We uphold the code of the West. Since the comet done come down,
raise Moo Mesa from the ground.
we walk, talk, and ride like all the rest.
Many years ago, a comet crashed to Earth, and instead of leaving a crater, somehow raised up a section of the ground into a massive mesa. For those of you who don't know, a mesa is basically a mountain with a nice flat top. The comet also released massive amounts of radiation, which instead of giving everyone cancer or raising the dead to feed upon the living, mutated all of the animals into humanoid form. Except, of course, for horses, because it's a Wild West themed show, we have to ride horses. Sorry, Silver. The newly upright animals now need to form a society, and decide that the cowboy puns are just too tempting. So the Wild West it is. Complete with trains, stagecoaches, and banks. And, of course, dastardly desperados to prey on them. Snakes and geckos and bats, oh my! And law bulls must rise to stem the tide of evil.
Going somewhere, boys?
And the greatest of these law bulls is Marshal Moo Montana. Instantly recognizable by his rugged charm, dashing good looks, and the fact that he wears a bright shiny M on his hat. He has two deputies, the Colorado Kid and Dakota, who follow their boss's example by putting their initials on their hats. Colorado is the younger and more reckless of the three.
Colorado, let's teach these boys the ropes.
You betcha, buddy.
Dakota is a bull of few words and super bovine strength.
Yeah! Go, Dakota! Get him, dude!
The Marshal is the only one of the three who actually uses guns. And given that it's a kid's show, they don't actually shoot bullets. They shoot badges.
Lock 'em up, Dakota.
As far as I can remember, Moo is the only good guy allowed to use guns. The rest are all reserved for the villains. They shoot a variety of things, from webbing to fireworks to cactus needles. Now, Marshal Moo and his deputies are called the Cowboys, but not for the obvious. It stands for Code of the West, the major philosophical system that holds sway over the Mesa. Over the course of the series, various nuggets of wisdom from the Code will be doled out to the viewer, kind of like the Ferengi rules of acquisition from Deep Space Nine.
I had to follow the 75th rule of acquisition. Home is where the heart is, but the stars are made of lighting them.
Like it says in the Code of the West,
A bull ought to hang his hat where the fire's warm and the folks are friendly.
The 47th rule of acquisition says, don't trust a man wearing a better suit than your own.
Like the code of the West says, when you've lost fair and square, it's time to own up and pack up.
The 34th rule of acquisition states peace is good for business.
That's the 35th rule.
Oh, you're right. What's the 34th?
War is good for business. It's easy to get them confused.
Don't forget what the code of the West says. A fish out of water will always look for another way to swim.
Some are better than others.
Well, we'll see. Like the code says, a fox will keep raiding the hen house till the rooster's cockle-doodle-dood.
What?
Two main recurring bad guys of the story are the evil Mayor Oscar Bulloney and the corrupt Sheriff Terror Bull. Cause Terror Bull, cause he's terrible. In his spare time, the sheriff moonlights as the notorious outlaw, the Masked Bull, robbing stagecoaches and causing general mayhem around the mesa, with his two henchmen, Boot Hill Buzzard and Saddle Sore.
Well, now look here. I wonder what Calamity Kate ordered all the way from Jersey City. I guess she ain't gonna never know.
Hey, boss, I got the pay dirt payroll.
You clumsy fool.
You know a guy is serious about protecting his identity when he puts a mask on his horse. Montana, however, is perfectly aware of the sheriff's extracurricular activities. He may think to put a mask on his horse, but forgets to make his henchmen wear one. And when not out robbing trains, they just hang around with the sheriff. But in classic hero fashion, Moo is just never quite able to prove it in a court of law.
You saying I'm in cahoots with the Masked Bull?
In 3 words, yes. And one day I'm gonna prove it.
That's 8 words. And Terror Bull's boss, the mayor, also serves as the town's judge.
We ain't gonna be in here too dang long, Marshal.
Yeah, we'll be out this as soon as you can say vote free. Prohibition. Bam.
Don't count your chickens yet, hombres. You did rob the Mesa stage.
But it's Judge Baloney who's doing the sentencing. Well, here he comes now.
Well, now, I think these poor rascals have learned their lesson. You may release them, Sheriff. Gotcha, Mayor.
Yeah!
Seems a mite lenient.
That's why I'm the judge and you're not.
Why does the sheriff bother with a mask, anyway? The main cast also includes cowgirl Calamity Kate, who might even be better with a lasso than the kid, and also has one of those unspoken attractions that never quite culminates with Dakota.
Well, it's my business when I choose to get hitched, and I ain't waiting for no bull on no white horse.
Miss Kate, I, brung you this.
Why, Dakota, your favorite blanket. You've had this since you were an itty-bitty calf. Well, thank you. It'll keep me warm tonight waiting for Pappy's letter.
Yep.
Marshall Moo's stereotype love interest is saloon owner Lily Bovine.
Now wait a little minute. Just 'cause I said your horse had better manners than you doesn't mean he's in here neither. Well, look who's here. Well, howdy, Moo. Looks like you could use yourself a sarsaparilla.
Much obliged, Miss Lily.
Well, come on in and wet your whistle.
And of course, rounding out the cast is the token dumbass kid who's always finding stupid ways to almost kill himself, Cody.
Uh-oh!
How did you even manage that?
GR! Tewa!
Good thing Tewa found me.
Don't save him! You're thwarting Darwinism!
Ah!
Dynamite!
It's gonna blow any second!
It's not like it was gonna hurt him anyway.
Did you say something? Did you say something?
Throw it!
extended cast during the first season includes characters like JR, a Buffalo native Mesian who's a big tinkerer and inventor.
JR invented it to find my goat.
We seem to be close. I bet we find Dewa's goat right behind these rocks.
Ew! P.U. JR, you've been skunked.
Whew! 'Twasn't my lucky day neither.
It does appear the tracker rod requires some minor adjustments.
Yeah, well, you ought to make them after a bath.
Yep.
His niece, who mainly seems to be there to give us some cutesy moments with Cody, and Buffalo Bull, the town blacksmith and another inventor, although not quite as good as JR.
It will all be surprised if it works. That's very funny, JR.
Also other recurring villains, such as Bart Blast-A-Gun and his gang.
Nobody humiliates Bat Blast-A-Gun and sees another morning. Moo Montana, your horns are mine.
The first couple of episodes are a little clunky, as they usually are. The creators are experimenting, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. At the beginning of the show, they didn't seem to know quite how cartoony they wanted to go with it.
Hey, where's the brakes on this thing? Huh? Oh, don't get up. I'll find them.
That's why the first episode includes a lot more Tex Avery physics.
What's going on?
Looks like you're gonna be early.
And the only breaking of the fourth wall that I can remember for the series. As the show progressed, the characters took the situations they found themselves in a lot more seriously, and solved their problems with a lot less cartoon physics. Usually.
Heads up!
My turn!
Out of my way!
Various villains of the week ride into Cowtown, but the main conflict remains between the marshal and the sheriff, each constantly trying to eliminate the other, and each failing time and time again to win a decisive victory. They decide to shake it up a bit in the first episode of the second season. A new train-swiping villain named Shock Holiday is terrorizing the Mesa. And the sheriff, seeing an opportunity to one-up the marshal, makes a bet with Moo on who will be the first to bring him in.
I'm gonna catch Shock Holiday first.
You?
Why, you couldn't catch that barman if he fell on you. Oh, yeah? Let's put it to a test. Whoever catches Shock Holiday gets to stay in Cowtown. And whoever loses has to hightail it out of here. For good.
Terrible. We're sure gonna miss you around here.
Well, all right, Moo!
Marshal Moo and his bulls ride into town one night to find the sheriff leading the villain to jail.
Shock Holiday? Moo, we lost a bet.
The Cowboys regretfully leave town, but soon learn that Shock is still in business.
Says, well, bust my bronco. Shock's holding those trains until the railroad president pays a huge ransom.
Well, hold on there, Moo. How could Shock Holiday be a holding trains and writing letters if he's sitting in jail?
He couldn't, Dakota. He's not in Cowtown. Well, then, who did Terrible arrest?
Turns out the sheriff just dressed up one of his henchmen as Shock, and I guess just assumed that Shock would never commit another robbery ever again. Moo, of course, captures the real Shock, exposes the sheriff's deception, and drives him out of Cowtown. Somehow he manages to secure another sheriff's job in an out-of-the-way town where he'll have to wait until the mayor can figure out a way to get him back. I think the show ended before he ever did. He may still be there today. The second season was also a lot more wild, wild west than the first. New villains like the diminutive Mule Berg brought a more steampunk feel to the Mesa.
The demonstration of my genius is about to begin. Now, drop the claw! You're dropping the claw, Captain.
Magic crystals that shrink our heroes down for the obligatory, "Oh no, we're small" episode. We even get pirates. They were still experimenting, trying to figure out how far they could push the concept. Apparently it was too far because the second season was also the last. The characters did manage to live on after cancellation. They were created by the same guy who made the Ninja Turtles, and apparently he still has a fondness for them. They got a couple of crossover comics with the Shellheads, and even had a guest cameo in the Turtles' Fast Forward series during the episode Home Invasion. An AI construct traps the Turtles inside a VR simulation and attacks them with various creatures. One of the environments it throws the Turtles into is Miss Lily's saloon in Cowtown, and we get a nice barroom brawl.
We've been transported into some sort of battle scenario. That or a Saturday morning cartoon! Huh? Howdy, partners?
Make it loud, boys!
I love cow punching!
Naturally, before cancellation, the series also had its own toy line and video game, but only in the arcades. I have a bit of a fondness for westerns. My dad's a big John Wayne fan, and he passed it on to me. I admit the premise is silly. A gigantic comet crashes into the ground and raises up a huge mesa full of mutant cows who all decide to live in the Old West. How did they do it, anyway? I mean, how long have they been up there? I mean, the mesa is huge. It has plains, mountains, valleys, and its own sea big enough to support full-time pirates. It's at least the size of a state. You'd think that humans would have flown up to see what was going on up there by now. How the heck did they figure out how to build trains and telegraphs so quickly? Were all those things still left over from the people that used to live there? If there were people, where did they all go? You know, there is one episode from the series that was a little weird, in a more unusual sense. It's one where they go on a cattle drive, with regular non-morphed cows. There's really no other reason to herd cattle like this unless you're planning to eat them. It's like human beings keeping herds of chimpanzees. Wait. If the comet mutated all the cattle into people, what if it mutated all the people into...
They're making our food out of people. Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food.
Nah, I'm just overthinking it. It's just fun. Fun characters, fun setting. It's just a fun show. It's what Saturday morning is all about. Takes me back to a simpler time, up on the mesa, high above the clouds.
On Moo Mesa live the real cowboys, standing up for law and order and living by the code.